Pro wrestling talk from the four corners of parts unknown. This is That Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to That Wrestling Podcast. It's another That Wrestling Podcast Extra with Brian, and we're welcoming back to the show a gentleman that we spoke to just a little under a year ago. So we kind of wanted to catch up. It's been a minute. He's had a lot of cool stuff happen to him professionally. So we want to talk a little bit about that and just what's been happening in the world of wrestling this past year of really since summer of 2021 through here we are now, spring of 22 has been insane. So we're going to wrap about all that and much, much more. We will welcome to the show, Jason Jones. Jason, welcome, my friend. Thanks for coming back on with us.
No problem. Like I said, a lot has gone on.
Yes.
A lot has gone on in the last almost year.
It's wild. Well, we'll try to keep it timely. There's a lot to discuss. we could be going off on tangents here. We'll try to stay focused. You're prepared just like last time. We always wear wrestling shirts on the podcast with what are you wearing? Why don't you share what you are repping for us?
The needle mover.
Like it.
I haven't gotten my God mode shirt in yet, nor have I gotten my mid MJF shirt yet. So
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of the God mode one. I thought I tried too hard. I like what you got better. For the Roman styles, but
if they just put God mode,
yeah,
it would. But when they tried to put great, the whole, I'm like, no, just put God mode.
Right.
Because he said I'm in God mode.
Yeah.
That to me that would have hit a little bit better, but I'm a big mark now for all the Roman Reigns shirts, so.
Yeah. The bloodline one of like the black and white and with all the guys with Usos and Paul, like that's fantastic. So
yeah, that was my Christmas shirt. Me and my three boys all did that. We all had bloodline shirts.
Oh, you're kidding? Okay.
So we took a picture of all of us with the one finger up.
All right, when you have a moment, try to remember to send that to me. I want to see if we can throw that out there. That's awesome. I am repping Classic Macho Man. I was reading up on when it was you guys at the Athletic doing your WrestleMania preview, and that was fun going over your expectations and kind of first memories, which the Killer Bees, I'm like, yeah, we talked about that from our last interview. So that was fun. And you just talked about some of your favorites. So Macho Man was the easy one that I know you had said. So I'm repping the classic. This is like wrestling fan starter pack of shirts, right?
Oh, yeah. You got to have one of those.
Yes. So that's how I'm rolling today. So yeah, let's talk a little bit just about what's been up with you professionally, because when I had you on, I want to say it was maybe in June of 2021, we talked Sacramento Kings and the pod was doing its thing. And there's been some changes with that and just your role at the Athletic too. So just what's happening with all that?
Okay. Well, since then I'm no longer covering the Kings. I've kind of shifted to this, I don't know what you call it sometimes. Like I help with our news department in terms of getting things on the web quick. And then I'm kind of in this NBA feature / culture, which basically culture is basically anything that doesn't fall into a nice little neat sports, pocket or even beyond sports. And I'm writing about movies, music. Like I said, we're getting wrestling on the site now. We're doing all, so I have my kind of, we did a big thing with the Super Bowl halftime show. That's still one of our all-time most, in terms of web hits, one of the biggest ones of all time for the company.
Sure.
Let me talk about the music I grew up on, so yeah, I'm doing a little bit of everything, I still do mine like every now and then Kings podcast. For whatever reason, people still like to hear me talk about the Kings. Can't shake that, and then I still have my little kind of, like I said, my wrestling thing is more for fun. And lately I've been having my son on there with me and let him just be the star and talk. And I kind of play the moderator while my son just, he's 13 and he just goes. I'm like, hey, calm down, little Jay.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. We've turned, they're not called pay-per-views, I guess. They're premium live, whatever they're called. But
right.
We turn those into always an opportunity to talk about it, whatever. And we only recap night one because night two was on a school night. He had to go to bed.
Right. Sunday night.
So I was like, I can't keep you up all night for this one. But yeah, so yeah, we have fun with it, and I have fun with it. It's been fun to kind of see even the company embrace more wrestling content,
Yes.
and realize I wasn't the only one in the company who cared. We did a live blog for WrestleMania. I think I was the only one who wasn't in Texas for it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I think 3 of our guys who were on there, they all live out there.
Sure.
So, it doesn't cost the company. They don't have to put them up in a hotel or anything. So it works out for them. And I just was contributing from home. And, I think because I was watching on TV, I had a different perspective or view than what they had live. So that was a lot of fun.
That's great. It's cool. The Athletics embracing that. I think there's always a little corner. I remember a couple of years ago when ESPN started incorporating things, and you'd see, like a Charlotte Flair come on, like First Take or these shows, and it's like, whoa, that's different. And covering sports just so straight. And so it's cool that the Athletics having that little corner there for something big like WrestleMania for you guys to contribute to.
Yeah, they even ESPN let Stephen A. Smith get that Triple H interview. And,
right.
And he's talking, even though I think we all kind of knew he wasn't going to wrestle again, that kind of became the news of him saying on there that he wasn't going to, wrestle again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's that I like that it's, that you kind of see there was a time in the journalism world where, if you liked wrestling, you were kind of shunned. Like, you like what? But I always tell people, it's funny how for so many folks who don't watch wrestling, when I wear a wrestling shirt in public, everyone knows what I'm wearing.
Yeah, right.
So for something that no one knows about, like everyone knows who Roman Reigns is. For someone, wrestling's not cool. I haven't watched since the days of The Rock. Oh, that's Roman Reigns. That's The Rock. I'm like, I thought you didn't watch anymore. So that's always fun. But it's I got to take the kids a few months ago. SmackDown was in Northern California, so we got to do that.
Nice.
Actually, my birthday present was floor seats at Monday Night Raw.
Oh wow, right on.
Yeah, so got to introduce my girlfriend to pro wrestling up close, and she was like, "Oh my, I didn't know they were so big." I'm like, "Yeah." I think the guy, because back then Big E was still the champion. What threw off about Big E was he's not tall.
Right.
She was like, "Oh my," she's like, "He's humongous," but I'm like, "Yeah, I know I'm way taller than him," but she was just like, "I can't," and then she like felt she like became the biggest Bianca Belair fan off the bat, and she got to see Montez's frog splash. She's like, "Oh
my god, yeah."
Then she ended up ordering her a Charlotte Flair shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was like, slowly integrating her and into it, and so yeah, it's been a lot of fun, with the without traveling anymore the way I did before. I can watch almost everything now.
Yeah.
Before it would be like I got a game tonight, so I would like binge like 3 shows like on a random Wednesday afternoon when there was no practice. Right. But now I'm kind of watching everything in real time and watching the changes with NXT, just all that stuff. Watching AEW. I'm just kind of just getting my full fill of everything wrestling wise and slowly integrating it into work more. So I think back then, I think in 2020, my first wrestling story was talk to Sean Spears about wrestling with no fans.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Because the NBA was going to have games with no fans at that point. And just about how, remember at that point, Sean was like outside, in the audience gambling and betting on matches.
That's right. That was really early in the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. He really didn't have a real role. And when I asked him about it, he said, "You know what? I may not be in the ring a lot, but me being on TV doing that's TV time.
Yeah.
I've got to make the most of whatever time I get." So now he's, in the middle of a pretty big, storyline.
Yeah. 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 That's a great point. And it's not a bad lead into my first question of wrestling for this past year was because this was being held off from when it came out. Until crowds returned. And I'm talking about the return of CM Punk when he debuted in AEW this past summer. And then later on in the summer, really at the Labor Day weekend, Brian Danielson debuts for AEW. 2 huge acquisitions to help boost the profile of AEW, with being these former WWE stars. What were your reactions when these debuts happened, and how do you feel that they've done so far in AEW?
I was excited to see CM Punk back. I was a big CM Punk fan. I think in terms of all my shirt collections, I had more CM Punk shirts than anybody. Which is saying a lot because I had a bunch of Rock shirts and Stone, but I had more CM Punk than I always liked him because he was to me like the superstar who was relatable because he didn't look like he was a big workout guy, like a regular guy, but his whole thing was work and the mic, and he could, So that was cool, and I liked the fact that he came back, but he wasn't like, I'm back, I got to be the champion, I got to be the star of the show. I like how they use him. That he does wrestle on TV, but he's not wrestling for the title. He's, I think that MJ, of all that MJF Punk storyline might have been one of the best ones in the last 2 or 3 years.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
I mean, when you're able to integrate, real life, MJF's real life frustration, like why did you quit on me? To and then kind of the way they kind of old school, leading up to their matches, they didn't like touch each other. There was no like, we'll put them in a 6-man,
right.
It was like old school, like, and I think that's one thing I have about the last couple of years. You're seeing kind of that thing where when the champion wrestles, it's a big deal. It's like, we don't need to see the champion on TV every week, in terms of in a match.
Right.
So I mean, I enjoyed that, and then when, with Danielson, I think we all kind of saw that coming.
Yes.
Because in a lot of ways, their style in AEW fits what he came up doing, so, but I don't, then, Adam Cole ends up there and all that. And I guess my only thing was like, I said, I hope they, that's why I like MJF so much. That's like, he's theirs. I don't feel like I'm watching like a version of WWE with like in low def TV. It's like, I'm like, have I seen some of these before? Or, I've seen these exact same factions just, on USA. So I like that. I have liked that, I like that, Danielson's there. I like this new thing they're doing with him and Moxley and Regal.
Yep.
So I like there's actually some diversity in choices now. I love WWE, but I think having something else you can look at, and so then when you debut a guy, I think a lot of WWE fans hadn't watched other promotions. So maybe they didn't get why it was a big deal when AJ Styles arrived.
Right.
Now, because this is on, major TV, if and when MJF shows up there, and I think if anybody, it's like inevitable that he has to be in WWE at some point. I think he's tailor-made, he even had the promo, people called him Miz. What they call him? The Miz.
Yeah.
A less famous Miz, but he has everything that you could see him. I could see him at some point with Vince. It's kind of like what I think what Kevin Nash said. He told Eric Bischoff years ago. He said, at some point you're going to work for Vince, and you're going to be amazed you beat him all those weeks when you realize the machine he has over there. So I'm enjoying all of it. I mean, there have been things I've seen that come on that I didn't like so much, but hey, but yeah, I'm enjoying it.
You take the good with the bad, but there's so much, and there's so much good, really across the board in the wrestling landscape. And we kind of extension on that first question about Punk and Danielson, as a byproduct of the WWE releases, AEW's had just so many new men and women enter the company, like Ruby Soho, Adam Cole, Fish and O'Reilly, Swerve Scott, Tony Storm, Keith Lee. It's been kind of a running gag on our podcast that whenever a new guy debuts, like Samoa Joe, right? He just came over. There's been a running gag that we always say, hey, sign more guys, keep signing them. So wanted to get your thoughts. Like, do you think AEW should tone it down when it comes to signing all these free agents, or are you loving it?
I love it, but I also think, it's kind of like when I looked at when they have Cole and Danielson at the same time. It's like, can we at least space it out?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, we get it. You can't pass up a Jeff Hardy if you already have Matt. But do they have to come out wearing the same Hardy stuff?
Yeah.
I was like, come on, we've seen this. We literally saw this a couple of years ago. So, I like the fact that I can still see Keith Lee on TV. I do like that part of it. But like I said, for me, the thing for them is going to be, how do you make these wrestlers unique in their own? I mean, Ruby Riott to Ruby Soho. Okay. Oh, you changed the last name. Like, is this NXT where you're just going to promote people and just change their last name now? Like, obviously Keith Lee is going to be Keith Lee, but it's like, can we just get some, it almost feels like you're just building off what Vince gave you, which is not bad. I mean, to me, it's smart for them. You've got recognizable names.
Yeah.
You have to take advantage of that. But I definitely am looking forward to seeing, maybe not, they don't sign everybody, but I think the people they've gotten, made sense. Keith Lee made sense. Obviously, you don't pass on Adam Cole, O'Reilly, or you don't pass on them. Swerve is an easy one.
Yes,
So I mean, they've hit. You don't pass on Samoa Joe, and I think maybe with the Ring of Honor and thing they're doing with that, maybe it becomes a thing where those guys, some of those that they or women they bring in, maybe you use that to kind of keep Ring of Honor going. Especially with guys like Joe and Cole, guys who have a history with Ring of Honor.
Yeah. I think that could be an outlet for that, and that was, almost seems like a bit of a life preserver because of all these guys that they've been signing. It's like you have a 2-hour Dynamite. You have a 1-hour Rampage, and they have these occasional specials. There's this Battle of the Belts that I see that's happening on Saturday. So I'm just like, how are you going to find the TV time? How are you going to replace these people, right? So with Ring of Honor, maybe they can at least mix in, some of these guys and girls that aren't being featured prominently on their main show. So that may be the benefit, that of having such a large roster.
Yeah, I would hope so, because I mean, Raw is 3 hours by itself. That's the totality of all their television program. And so
completely,
in one way it's good, because that means maybe you can't oversaturate. You can't put Punk on both shows leading off, but maybe it can't, and it probably in terms of the schedule, I'm sure the wrestlers don't mind knowing they don't have to fulfill the same amount of time. But I think that the Ring of Honor, you still got Impact out there. I was reading the other day that in terms of travel, guys will be able to go back to Japan again, more regularly. I think you're going to have you got guys like Cardona, who has created a whole new career. Who basically said WWE prepared me for this. So you bring them in, they already know about the main camera. They know how to play things up, and I think it makes everyone better. I really think in the end we all win as fans, because we can still, it's not a thing now like when I was a kid where a guy gets let go. We never see the guy again. Like, what happened to him?
Right. Yeah. Now that we've come out, at least fully operational from the pandemic, at first when those cuts happen right at the beginning of the pandemic, you're like, oh gosh, there's nowhere for these guys and girls really to go. But now things are opening up, and everything is a lot better of a landscape for everything involved. So on the flip side, Cody Rhodes makes his return to WWE at WrestleMania, and this is the first defect from AEW, and everybody, of course, just shocked considering he was a founding member of the company. Are you a fan of Cody? Did you enjoy him in AEW? And how shocked when you heard the news that he was leaving AEW and, of course, debuted at WrestleMania, or re-debuted, I guess.
Yeah, I was shocked in the sense that, like you said, he was a founder. He was one of the original pieces, and he essentially left WWE because he just didn't like what they were doing with them. Right. And he was going to prove to everyone that what he really was. I mean, he wasn't Stardust.
Yeah.
And like I said, I give him major props, because he really did what people thought he couldn't do. They were like, you're not a main eventer, you're a mid-card guy, you're Goldust's little brother, you're the youngest Rhodes, all these kind of dismissive ways to look at him. But he had the Intercontinental title, which traditionally had been the workers' title.
Right.
So I don't know what it is now because they never let the Intercontinental or U.S. champion win a match.
Poor Ricochet.
Yeah, I was like, just that's a whole different discussion about put the belt on him and Apollo Crews. They never get to win anymore.
Right.
Now Apollo's on main event.
Right.
Exactly. He was at WrestleMania a year ago. Now he's on main event. But hey, but I think that when you look at what Cody, to me, what was big about that was the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew it was going to be Cody. They kind of trolled us because with the lights.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know it's not the Fiend. I know it's not the they trolled us. Especially with the Instagram post where he had, "Hey, I'm in Dallas," and I was like, could they really pull a fast one? But I think the reaction kind of showed that Cody won. It's like he came back, which doesn't always happen with WWE. He came back a bigger star than he left.
Right.
And he did that without ever putting the main belt of AEW on himself. He never put the belt, he never put the world title on himself. He came back a bigger star.
Yeah.
And he came back such a big star that, normally when a guy comes back, they've got to put their touch on him. They're going to change his music. You got to wear different ring gear. He came back as the character and the wrestler he built.
Yeah.
He came back as the American Nightmare. That wasn't a WWE creative thing. That was him. And to me, the ovation to that, the way his shirts were selling, I was like, to me, that was just cool. That was great validation. And he bet on himself and he won. And I could legit see down the road a guy like Matt Cardona returning as Matt Cardona and not as Zack Ryder, with the same type of thing. I could see, I can kind of foresee, because the way this business is, everyone comes back at some point, it feels like. So I think Cody gave a great blueprint of what can happen when you bet on yourself and you do the work and you believe in yourself. A lot of people thought he was crazy. Like, you don't leave WWE to go to the independents to prove something, but it worked.
Yeah. He pulled it off completely. Everything you said, I completely agree with. I don't know if you saw he's done a number of podcasts and media interviews afterward. And he said in the negotiations with Vince and Nick Khan that he basically said, it's gotta be me. I can't be doing Stardust. It's gotta be me in this presentation. And apparently what he said was Vince said, well, if it isn't broke. So that was the sign of respect that he showed of Cody for what he had been pulling off at AEW and the indies prior. And it's interesting because he says, well, if it isn't broke, and on the flip side, you've got all these NXT guys and girls, like you said, who they come up and they get different names and on Raw and SmackDown. And how does that play out? But maybe.
Yeah, I have, for the life of me, you cannot explain Butch to me.
I'm not going to try.
He looks silly with that hat. He has the ponytail still, the hat's poking up and looks silly.
Yeah.
And it's like now he went from like this, fierce fighter to like some little kid they've got to try to control. Yeah. And I was like, Raquel Gonzalez was Raquel Gonzalez on Tuesday. She's Rodriguez on Friday. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That was not so bad, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand why. I just don't understand why. You change Walter. I liked Walter.
Right.
You can't go Gunther, Walter. That's different.
Right.
Now we've got, Ludwig, maybe even had a Ludwig in a while.
Yeah.
You've got that, and then they leave the other Imperium member behind. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
And then on Raw, Austin Theory just goes, call me Theory. Really? Is that what we're doing? Okay.
Like, it's not, you got to give a guy one name. At some point, I guess. There's never really an explanation as to why. You're just one name now.
Yeah. Don't, for those watching or listening to this, don't scroll back on my Twitter, because I definitely sent some slightly inebriated, angry tweets on Butch. When there was some F-bombs, there was some JCs. I was in a way.
And then the way they dressed him, I'm like, look at a little boy now. Like, what is this? I'm like, why do you have suspenders on?
So bad. So bad.
Yeah.
All right. We talked about the Cody moment. You can give some of your more overall thoughts on WrestleMania, and I wanted to get your thoughts because it seems like moving forward, they're sticking with the 2-night format. And I wanted to get your thoughts on, you like the 2 nights, you like the 1 night, and kind of all that, and just how the show was for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, overall, it's one of the better WrestleManias in recent years.
Yeah.
I thought top to bottom was overall one of the better ones. I mean, the celebrity spots were surprisingly very good. Like, I know Logan Paul was an athlete, but I mean, he was damn good.
It was crazy. I couldn't believe how good he was.
I'm watching. I think I even put it in our blog. I said he's a natural heel. Like, he has just that heel persona already. I mean, to pull off the Three Amigos and then do the dance on the top rope before the frog splash, that's not just the skill, that's charisma.
Yeah.
I think people forget Pat McAfee played in the NFL. I mean, to leap to the top rope. I mean, and even the whole Jackass crew, that was, I mean, when they went to the comedy, they nailed the comedy. That was hilarious. I didn't expect Stone Cold to be taking bumps on concrete, because I ain't gonna lie.
I know. Wow.
Going into the show, I'm like, this is a waste. Why are you gonna have him do the KO show? Because I was like, on the first night, I said, why didn't Bianca and Becky close the night? No, yeah. Why are we closing with the KO show? Until I realized, this is gonna be a real match, and not just like a quick little 2-minute. I hit him with a stunner. Like, they're really taking, they're really having a match.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, they're real. I mean, outside of, to me, the only one that felt like it was like blah was the whole New Day. That was clearly rushed. I mean, it was like, okay, this, that wasn't the original match. So it was clearly like this, like, didn't feel like it was a real thing. And then obviously the Boogs injury threw off the first match.
Right.
But overall, I thought it was a great show. I enjoyed it. I like the 2-night format. To me, it gives you a chance to highlight the roster that big. To me, it's still crazy that you don't have the IC or US title on the show somewhere.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I was like, you're gonna put Logan Paul on, but you're not gonna have Ricochet or Finn Balor. But it worked. Yeah. I mean, I think you can use. I like that. You had Stand and Deliver. You had NXT on. I mean, it becomes a great weekend. Just a great weekend. I think overall, I like it. I definitely am a fan of the 2-night format, just because if you go for 1 night, imagine all the matches get cut. And then also it makes the show, we don't need a 5.5-hour WrestleMania.
Yeah. Jason, we talked about it when we talked, not us, but my regular podcast, when we talked about just WrestleMania thoughts. And the last one that they had 1 night only was the one in New York, New Jersey, where it was Becky, Charlotte, Ronda Rousey as the main event. And I'm here East Coast. That match didn't start till like 12:10 in the morning. It was like what are we? I'm spent. I've been watching 5 hours of wrestling if you count the pre-show matches. It was like, what? You got to either cut something or the 2-night format. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's the way to go. And I think, last year I thought was really enjoyable. It certainly had its own charm, being that it was kind of the first show with the crowd, even if it was a socially distanced crowd. But this one had the prestige of WrestleMania for 2 nights, and it completely delivered.
And it gives the main event the energy it deserves. I mean, if you've been there 5.5, 6 hours, you don't care. You're just like, can we get this over, please? Yeah. I'm only here because I bought the ticket. I couldn't imagine.
No one wants that much. Yeah, that's too much.
I said splitting it up, it works. I think it works well. Like I said, you have then NXT still gets their time during the day. Leading up to it, that show I thought was pretty good too. So I mean, I thought it was I kind of left that weekend thinking only WWE could put this type of show on. They're the only company, I know there's a lot of, especially go to social media, a lot of anti-WWE, AEW is the greatest thing ever to happen. WWE is trash, but no one's doing what they did. No one's giving you a Bianca and Becky match like that. You know, even the pageantry with the entrances. But that's why I thought Becky and Bianca should have been last. I was like, you don't have that entrance middle of the show.
Right.
For both, I'm like, why are they coming in now?
Yeah.
Like, you closed the show with that, but hey, clearly Vince knows more than I do because it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I think somebody in a review I read, or maybe just a comment on Twitter, said like, I was thoroughly sports entertained by WrestleMania. Like,
it was definitely that.
Yeah, I thought like that's a fine way to put it.
Entertainment.
That's what WrestleMania is. It's spectacle, it's celebrities, it's pageantry, and they knocked it out of the park. Will you be going? You're a Southern California guy. Are you going to the Mania in LA next year?
That's the plan. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. That's the plan. I said, who knows? If the Athletic keeps this up, I might have a credential.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, so I mean, yeah, I definitely plan to be there. I've never been to a WrestleMania.
Okay. So, nice.
I had this weird streak when I covered the Kings that I would always be in town right when WrestleMania was. I'd be leaving as WrestleMania arrived. I think one year I was leaving New Orleans, I saw all the signage was already up, and I'm like, wow. I'm leaving.
Yeah. No.
You know, so I definitely plan to be there in person, and and for me, I'm not a little guy. It's always cool to be around guys who make me feel small. Like, I found a picture kind of in my memories where the WWE had Mojo Rawley and Apollo Crews come to a Kings game.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
I got a picture with him, and my God, I look like a little kid next to Mojo.
Oh my, okay.
I'm like, I'm taller than Apollo.
Yeah.
But they're just like yoked, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I weigh like 260, and I feel really small right now. So but yeah, I'm looking forward to especially if they somehow figure out how to get The Rock involved. That's going to be crazy. But even if they don't, I think right now Roman is at a point where maybe that's Roman and Cody. Maybe that's where you take the belt off of Roman. I don't know.
Jay, that was my next question. We're kind of at this point where I don't see a completely clear answer of like who defeats Roman Reigns. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be Cody.
Okay.
That would be my first hunch. I mean, there's a built-in storyline with Roman having been in NXT and Dusty, and
okay, yeah.
This is me. You've got you've got that, and obviously Paul Heyman would go way back with Dusty. You've got the whole comeback story. Mm-hmm. You've got the whole you were a mid-carder, now you want to be a main eventer. Your bloodline has a guy who dressed up as Goldust. You don't have what we have. Yeah. And it would set up well from this sense too. He doesn't have, his brothers or whatever and all that to go with him against those guys. And I could almost see the obstacles you would put in front of him. You'd have the Usos. You'd probably end up bringing in, Solo from NXT. But you kind of create this monster of
sure
person he has to go through to finally get to Roman. And like I said, plus because it's the WWE. There's probably some, maybe you dig up some of Dusty's old, come parts from NWA days. Oh wow, I guess somebody's doing some gardening outside all of a sudden my door.
Right on.
Maybe that's how you get the Fiend back, and you get the whole NWA. You get the Rotunda. You get there's things you can do. To build this up. So I mean, maybe it's Cody. I don't think you can't put the belt on The Rock. That's the thing. You can't put the belt on him.
Yeah.
You could, but you can't.
Right.
And so it becomes, well, who's out there? I mean, is there, because if he's already beaten Brock, I don't know. Can you really sell it? It was a Brock again, maybe there's someone who comes back they haven't signed yet. I don't know what the other contract situations are with the other guys over at AEW or anywhere else, but I don't know if there's anybody right now in terms of popularity besides Cody that makes sense. Because I mean, is it? I don't think it's Seth. I don't think it's Bobby Lashley at this point. I mean, I mean,
those two were in my head that there's paths to get there. Drew McIntyre, there's a path
that's one we still
there.
haven't gotten, but I almost feel like we'll get Drew this year. I think we'll get Drew at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know,
I
don't know
if
I don't know if you can get the Drew story all the way back, but
right.
Drew also makes sense as the next one for next year too, just because Drew hasn't gotten that big main event. He lost to Lashley at WrestleMania last year.
Yeah.
So you don't have to run that one back. But I think Cody, Lashley, I forgot about Drew makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of it is with Roman is that because he's so physically imposing, to make it believable, you've got to almost have someone almost as imposing as him. That's why I thought it makes sense to make it a triple threat with Brian and Edge, because no one's buying that Edge is going to come back and beat Roman by himself. But you put him in a triple threat, I don't know. Maybe he pins the other guy instead, But they've built Roman up. I mean, this is I think it's been great storytelling that he just kind of you line him up, he knocks them all down, and you have to build someone. I think Cody makes sense. Like I said, Drew makes sense. It's got to be someone we haven't seen get pinned in a while.
Yeah.
For me to make sense. I mean, outside of Lashley last year, I don't know the last time Drew's been pinned.
It's been a minute. He seems like it's finally done now with the Corbin and Matt,
which I thought they drug out a little way too long for my liking.
Yeah, they did.
But I think I think they all make sense. And then there could be a surprise out there. Maybe we have with Kofi Mania where someone else catches fire, and there's somebody out there we're not even thinking about. Yeah, and gains traction. But I think as long as you keep the belt on Roman until you get someone who's just so hot, you can't deny it. And I think, to me, Cody has the best shot at being that guy. But I'm pretty sure Drew wants to be that guy too, because he was the Thunderdome champion, he was the Pandemic champion. He never got that big moment as the champion. When even the previous WrestleMania, Bobby's the champion at that point.
Yeah, that Royal Rumble 2020, where Drew won, and he had eliminated Brock and then won the whole match, and that was, I think, in like whatever the Houston Astrodome is. I mean, you go back and watch that. That's one of my favorite Rumbles. The crowd is nuts for Drew. So yeah, it's such a the rug got pulled out from under him to have everything got taken away for WrestleMania and having his big moment. But maybe he can get that back. I'd love, and this is health, if things all go well. I'd be all about for Big E to have it back.
I would too. I didn't like how they booked his championship run at all.
Him and Lashley had some good stuff, but when he won Money in the Bank, I was hoping he'd take it from Roman. I was hoping it could be a post match cash in, and then you can do New Day, Usos, Bloodline, like you have that whole thing. And they went the other route and went with Lashley, which was fine. But it didn't do it, in the long run after that. So, his health was standing.
It didn't feel like he was booked as a real strong champion.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel. It was like, why is he wrestling in the second hour of Raw? It's like, I don't it just never felt like they were really, he didn't get that signature rivalry. He didn't get that big, it sounded like, well, he'll have a rematch with Lashley. Okay. And I think that's always the danger when you have a Money in the Bank champion. By default, they're viewed as almost a gimmick.
Right. Okay.
So if you're going to have someone win Money in the Bank and be the champion, you've got to really have the story as such to where now they're going to show you why they should be the champion, almost have them just run through 3 or 4 feuds to build them up. And it never felt like that, but I do think I think Lashley still does make sense too, because he's never really been beaten for his title.
Yeah.
He lost it in Money in the Bank. I mean, on a cash in. Then this last one, he has the concussion. So he still looks strong, and now they've pretty much turned him into a face.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are I think that's still out there. And health-wise, if Big E gets healthy.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's the big part about that
Yeah.
is, he suffered, or I should say he avoided something completely serious of paralysis or anything. So
Right.
hopefully everything works out for the best.
Mm.
One quick one. We're getting close to wrapping things up because you and I were about the same age. We both have kids. A lot of times over the last year, we've had the pay-per-views or premium live events on Saturdays instead of the traditional Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
What's your viewpoint on those? Because I'll tell you, man, there was maybe the last big AEW pay-per-view was on a Sunday, and like, I don't know, maybe what I did Saturday, but come like Sunday late in the evening, and again, I'm East Coast, but I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Are you hey, 42-year-old Brian, man, I'm keeping it totally legit. What's your thoughts? And maybe it's different for you in West Coast because it's earlier.
Yeah, the West Coast does make it different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does make it different because I mean it's not midnight for me. Like,
right.
Neither WrestleMania was. I was like, God, this thing is going on forever.
Yes.
Because I mean, it started for me at 3, so it's perfect for me. Having a little time in the day. The kids can watch. They can get to bed at a somewhat decent hour still.
Yeah.
So but that's why I do like Saturdays because there is, especially during the school year. As a parent, you're like, the kids can watch the whole show. I don't have to worry about, you gotta go to bed and go to school in the morning.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like it. I mean, but I remember also growing up when you would have those random like Tuesday night in Texas shows or where it had to be a special reason to be on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no more Saturday night's main event, but I think So I mean, I think Saturday night works. And this is crazy to think about. That came on like at 11:30 at night.
Right. Right.
Which obviously never happened now with the, it could, but with the internet, we don't know what happened already.
Right.
But yeah, the fact that it came on so late and so I like Saturday, but I'm also an adult. I can watch Saturday, Sunday, anything. But when you got the kids and everything, those Saturdays are perfect because it's like a good fun Saturday for the kids. They can have fun. They watch wrestling. They go to bed. I can sit back and open up my Stone Cold, beer.
Yeah.
And enjoy the show. I saved one of those specifically for the KO show with Stone Cold. I'm like,
fun.
I'm like, I said, I'm going to do. I said, I never thought I'd drink a Stone Cold beer while Stone Cold was on TV. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So yeah, I like the Saturdays. To me, they're fun. It makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that was really cool that you got to do that for WrestleMania because that Austin moment was just, what a great send off for him if that really is it, and it most likely would be.
Yeah, I'm glad he got that. Where he's not moving with a stiff neck, and we all know it's the last one. This one felt better. It did.
Do you want to do a little quick word association where I'll give you a wrestler name and you give me just quick, thought or two on what your opinion is?
Sure.
Awesome. All right, Randy Orton.
Generational talent.
Charlotte.
What was a good one? Charlotte. They'll never let her lose.
Oh, that's a good one. Darby Allin.
Crash test dummy.
Yeah. Wardlow.
Funny haircut.
Xavier Woods.
Underutilized.
Alexa Bliss.
A lot of fun.
Hangman Page.
Sobriety.
Braun Breaker.
The chosen one.
Oh, okay. Jade Cargill.
Unlimited potential.
Sami Zayn.
Underrated.
Okay. I also would have accepted versatile. That guy is like.
Yeah, I was like, there's just, to me, Sammy can do so many things. Yeah. If Sammy never wrestled again, he could still be on TV every week.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to pull off that match he pulled off with Knoxville.
Yes. Oh yeah. Somebody described it online and I went, oh yeah, this is how this was they did the movie Home Alone in a wrestling match. That was Macaulay Culkin doing all the little pranks to the bad guys, and they pulled that off with Knoxville and his crew doing that the same.
And it's hard to do that in wrestling where the wrestler doesn't come out looking like terrible. And it's like, I think there's people who always said that Bam Bam Bigelow never recovered from having to lose to Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
I think in this one, Sami Zayn's going to be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing because of all that, like you said, all those weird gimmicks of mouse traps and, bowling ball and all these weird, the giant hand, like that has such a potential to be like, what am I watching? Like, what am I really doing with this? But they pulled it off. It was hilarious. It was better than I ever imagined it could have been.
Yeah, I think he and Kevin Owens pulled off two of the best performances that weekend, because to pull off what Kevin did with Stone Cold, clearly no one was expecting a match, and to pull that match off the way he did, when they both looked good, to me, the big credit to Kevin. I think Sami had a great weekend. I think those are two guys who I think we're gonna see as a result of WrestleMania become more popular in the mainstream because of what they did. And I think we're going to see Sami Zayn in movies. I mean, there's no way you can't tell me he's not going to be in some like comic. We're going to see Sami in movies. I think just because he pulled that off. It was just he pulled it off so well. I mean, he sold the stuff. He has he knows how to make you laugh as it is. And so I think he and Kevin are into being big winners from WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, no, those completely delivered. The trust that the company must have, obviously, with Owens to be with Steve Austin in that spot, and Sami to have this high profile, Hollywood celebrity and Johnny Knoxville and the whole Jackass crew.
Trust
they delivered.
Sami have to literally destroy all of them. Yeah, like I said, it was to me, it was good. It was I really enjoyed Sami Zayn, that whole situation.
All right, Jason, thanks so much for joining in again. I'm glad we get to do this checkup here. And
no problem. We gotta let's not wait another year.
All right, we'll make that happen. We'll check in more periodically. I love that. Give out your plugs, Twitter, Instagram, and your pods, all that stuff, please.
Twitter, Mr._Jason Jones, Instagram, Mr. Jones LBC. I have links to all the pods and stuff I do. The ruler of the court is the Sacramento Kings. Yes, I'm watching wrestling is the wrestling one with me. Now I got to change the name because now it's me and my kid.
Yep.
I put all my stuff on social. So if you follow me on either one, eventually you will see some of that pop up. And then theathletic.com, where I write about literally anything now. So you'll never know what I might be writing about, but yeah, it'll be on The Athletic.
Awesome. All right. Stay well, my friend. Appreciate the time. Enjoy wrestling. Thanks for everybody listening and checking us out on YouTube. Again, at thatwrestlepod is the socials for all things on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as well. I'm also at TWP Brian. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Follow That WrestlePod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
1, 2, 3. That's it.